composing my scene. Here we are. Okay. Out of there. What are we doing today? How is it going? What is the time and what time is it in the year? It's almost November 11th. Happy 11/11. It's Wednesday, and it's Tanzu code. Thanks for showing up if you're here. I'm going to do something fun, maybe. I don't know if it's fun. I think it's more grueling than fun right now because I haven't been I've been listening to the casts about building and packaging for a while, but I've been doing a lot of testing too. And one of the things that I found was the building and packaging parts, the deployment stage of a given software lifecycle is kind of hard to land. And I remember spending months or weeks doing this with a regular team. And so I'm attempting to do it myself, not 1 hour, but I'm attempting to land at least a deployment, maybe the schematics of a deployment within a reasonable amount of time. I just need a way forward, and I'm using code as a way to code, to explore and get further in what I know. So we'll do that today. We'll explore developing like a Spring Boot application that it starts up and it sits available. And I guess part of this means that there's a README in here, because I guess this will eventually turn into a README. So we have this thing that I send, and this thing that I send is called it's called a bootstrap. No, it's actually going to be my my deployment module. That's the thing that I'm sending. I'd love to be able to send a deployment module out and say this thing knows how to find its way around my resources and actually turn itself into an application that works. We're not there yet, but let's get there. Let's try to get there. The first thing I'm going to do here is create a README. I just need I know what you're looking at. You're saying, why is there a giant README file in the middle of another sub-project, Mario? It's crazy. But bear with me here. So deployment, and let's see. We need a configuration. First, we need configuration. And then we need entry points. We might change these later on, so I'm going to have something called entry points. So I need configurations, I need entry points, and then I need executions, obviously. I need something to execute these things with. I don't expect to make it to executions, but I expect to actually get to entry points. So configurations, build, entry, so packet, or how about Buildpacks? Buildpacks. So what we'll do is we'll call this one deployments. We'll talk about the configuration at build entry. That is build configuration. Yeah, I guess that could be like a subtext. Build config. I usually do this if it's extremely fast, and I'll just come up with some bullet points. That's kind of what I'm doing right now, is bullet pointing myself to oblivion. So I think I need entry points and executions, and then once I'm executing, then that means I'm in deployment. Another side is actually like where CI/CD come in. So, before all that, I would probably have to have something like test, application readiness. So I want a full, end-to-end E2E tests. So application readiness E2E tests are kind of important, but that won't span this talk. That's like for another date. Basically, put it into my build stream and have it successfully always kick off a current version of the application. So provide all the updates, things like that. But let's go back to deployments. What are deployments? What we want to do is, let's see, we have several modules to deploy. That's it. Each module specifies a microservice. So we have several modules to deploy. Each module that specifies a microservices, arguments, and environment shall be sent. Deployment. So whatever my deployment artifacts are, I suppose what I want is the ability to specify arguments up front, have the deployment create the deployment with those arguments for that particular microservice, and then when I ship it, that's what gets deployed. I don't want to specifically the nature of the deployment. I don't want to have to leave that up to the system. So how do we specify what our system does? Let's first of all, I'm going to look at the system real quick and find out what in the world am I actually going to deploy. What am I looking at in terms of a project here? So here we have a Maven. I'm just talking here. Don't worry about me. If you don't like the talking, it's what I do to keep my nerves down. And I've got some lo-fi, chilling in the background. I would love to be able to build the Growl native VM. I'm using a backdated version of it when I was experimenting with it, obviously, since this is an experimental feature. I was using the Growl native, and it's really kind of cool, actually, if you want to build super fast services. Let's take a look at that really quickly. This is just something that I want to kind of go over when you're building. Oops, Growl native. I remember a colleague of mine just showing this to me and being like, "Oh, Mario, that's amazing! They have the ability to deploy native Spring Boot jars, which is actually pretty cool. It'll if you have SDK man, install the Growl VM from SDK, and let Maven do its job with your Spring Boot plugin. It'll activate the Growl VM build, which will take a little longer than usual, but which will give you a nice binary to execute, and that takes very, very fast to load. Sub-second loading times, obviously, which is what some people are looking for. And I will be too, eventually. But I want to build my application first and get it top shape before I start spending 5 minutes per build. But anyway, this is the Spring Boot Growl VM native images. You probably heard this from a lot of people before, and I'm going to just kind of gloss over it and extol its virtues and how awesome the new land of native Buildpacks are, or at least native images are. So, this is an alpha project. It's still in experimental status, I guess. But if you like to test these type of things, do it. It'll probably make, if you have a nice build machine, or if you have a build farm somewhere, use that. Try not to use your own machine, especially if you're going to be streaming, because it might take a long time to build, and we can't have people waiting. So that's what the Spring Boot native image, Growl native image, does for us. Here's the actual Growl VM. This is, of course, I believe this is Oracle software, or it might be open. I'm not completely sure where the genesis of the Growl came from. Could be a JSR related. Currently, I just know that it's amazing, and it does some really, really, really advanced things on the JVM. So we don't need to go too far into this. Just some little things there. I guess what I'll do is I'll create like a links guide on that README, and so like helpful links. How do I do that? Is it like this? which one of these guys was the link? If I write my yeah, okay. Sometimes I think I write it a little bit backwards, but I guess I didn't write it backwards this time. Okay, so we have a link here for that because I think that's really interesting. We also have the link for JUnit. We're not going to talk about JUnit today, I think. Let's see what else what we want to do. Okay, so that was a quick digression just because I was looking at this POM file and I remembered I had this. I don't actually need this right now, so I'm going to go ahead and comment it out since it's not needed right now, obviously. Let's see, we have the Spring Context Indexer in our build. Let's see if we need the Spring Context Indexer. I probably use it for something that I don't think I know why I'm using it. So let me go ahead and find out exactly why do I have the Spring Context Indexer component index. I'm pretty sure I was doing some funky build stuff and I wanted my build to go extremely fine, where I had lots of modules that were actually being used in one specific module, and I think that's probably not the right way to go. Currently, I'm still building my project as a okay. I'm pretty sure I need that for something. Spring Context Indexer is probably used in the GraalVM or probably the Buildpacks plugin. I don't think I need it. I'm going to go ahead and... It seems like something I wouldn't be using. So if my build fails, we know why. So everything else is fine here. These are just two experimental things I had up there. Let's not worry about that right now. I don't want to get too far into it. Because I have about an hour, and I don't want to spend all my time looking at things that I'm not going to be using immediately. Let's see, I have all my project dependencies. So basically this thing will connect to either Redis, Cassandra, it has controllers, it's RSocket, it has Webflux, and it has management. Also it does gateway and discovery. So, why is there gateway in here when you're not using gateway? This is another thing, it is always when you're doing builds and you're about to go to deployment, never deploy things that you're not using at the current time, or otherwise you end up with extra stuff. And who wants extra stuff? So we have console discovery and we have console config. We are using console in this application. I should probably switch this specifically from console to a more broader scoped package where I can take in and out the different configuration servers. So you can use etcd or console or any one of your other DNS type configuration schemes out there. Okay, this looks fine. Yeah, we have all our tests and stuff. And yeah, so I have a plugin here. That's my Spring Boot main class plugin. I won't touch that yet. Let's go down to this red line here and see what we have here. Chat image name. Oh, it looks like I created an image name. Okay. So let's see what we have here. Nothing. Okay, so nobody actually uses chat image name, which makes me think that it's just going to say chat deploy, which is fine. So basically I have an image that will get created and it's going to be called chat deploy. Fine. That's fine. That's great. Okay. Okay, so we just have our very basic dependencies and an image. Now, per actuator. So for actuator, I needed this. Did I? Oh, that's for Maven commit. Ah, yes, I have a Maven commit ID plugin. That's another thing. A lot of DevOps people like to use commit IDs instead of like actual package names, and I guess that works. But I was trying to go that route of using git commit SHAs. But if you don't want to follow the SHA, don't follow the SHA. Like, go ahead and do your own scheme. And I might end up creating my own scheme too. I think a lot of people have their own ideas about what should be done. And in an organization, you want to be as clean. The lines need to be as clean as possible and as orthodox, I guess, like in your companies or your own build projects parlance, how orthodox things are. are the naming of entities or artifacts, and how each version gets renamed, and how to identify a very specific version of deployment. And one of the best ways of doing that is using Git SHAs to name your packages. All right, so what do we have here is deployment of arguments and environments shall be sent to a deployment artifact. Let's see, clean build should take less than 60 seconds. All right, chat deploy. Let's go ahead and say, oh, yeah, I'm not gonna do any building right now because I ran a Maven daemon earlier today, and then I blew away the .m2 directory. Once you blow away the .m2 directory, what ends up happening is builds take forever because you know, bandwidth. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, builds will take a little bit longer, and right now you can tell about my computer is going, hey, I need more bandwidth. Somebody's using all the bandwidth. I have school people at home that are video chatting with 5 other people, and somebody else is streaming 4K Netflix in the other room. So I'm pretty sure my paltry 50 megabits per second Comcast cable is doing its best at downloading those 100 kilobyte artifacts. All right, so okay. I guess what I'm trying to explore here next is you have several modules to deploy. Each module is a microservice argument. Each environment convention will be sent to deployment artifacts. How do I specify? How to specify which main? Okay, that's one question. Question number 2 is going to be how to inject arguments into an execution. Right? So these are my questions I'm going to answer. How to specify which main class, right? How do I specifically inject arguments into the execution? So how do I specify? How about just ditto for arguments? All right. So how do I inject arguments into execution? And then lastly, how do I let's see, how do I kick it off? How would I know how to kick it off. I would just use kube control apply, and the Docker package would get found. So what that probably brings me is once I've specified my main class and I'm able to get arguments, can I get multiple main classes out of a single build? In other words, can I get like 4 or 5 build packs or build containers out of this one build? So apply to multiple containers. Yeah. Right. Main classes, whatever you want to call it. Apply the above to that. So if I had like a for loop and I said, hey, for each one of these main classes, inject these arguments, and so on and so forth. And most likely that turns out what you have, like what I'm doing currently is for specifying the main class, I currently do that in the build, and that's where some of my confusion comes from, is where's the build going to point to, right, when your jar file gets made, but then which one of these, how are those arguments going to get applied? So the answer for that right now is profiles. So currently I'm using profiles, and that's it's profiles. So currently, oh hi, is that a spelling check? You know what, I don't really care if that's spelling or not. Let's look at a profile and why profiles are making the day work for a lot of my deploying things. So the idea is I had a big application, and that big application needed the ability to know whether it's an RSocket service or it's a WebFlux service, and in order for that to happen, I have to say, here's an argument, and this will tell you if you're a WebSocket or an RSocket, and that's fine. Only thing is I don't find myself doing that too often. It sounds like it's a different, separate project type of deal. In other words, I want to be able to say, in that particular main class instance, use XYZ arguments. And so I did create a thing called profiles. You don't see profiles here because usually in Spring you would say application profile, application dash profile name dot properties. Um, so like for this guy right here, test client is a profile, and it literally just loads a test client and attaches itself to several RSocket services and makes calls. That's all it does. This was for learning. So essentially, profile test client will say, oh, I'll look for this guy here. Application test client, here are my arguments, or here's everything I need to know. Shut off my web application because I'm an RSocket server, and change my logging level to info. And so something like that works when you have a very simple use case. And I think this is a simple enough use case to keep doing that. Now, where else do I have profiles? And I'm sure I have lots of them. But profiles can get kind of, we're speaking about Buildpacks, we're speaking about like deploying your code to the cloud, or talking about deploying it to a container service, or anywhere really. You might even run it localhost, bare metal. But the thing is how do you get your arguments to your application? And one of those ways, of course, is profile. And let's look at how that breaks down. For Mario, at least. For me, it breaks down like I have, for instance, an application that uses Cassandra and that starts up several, that may be one of many things, right? So I have all these configuration annotations here, and these are just various resources that I use throughout the application. However, I do have this one called profile for client key, and I suppose what happens here, what you should suppose is, if you specify this profile client key, you will have an instance of client key on that particular server. So you could, for instance, launch one jar file that has client key embedded in it, another one that has, for instance, Cassandra key embedded in it. So each one of these is going to activate a particular server. So the profile for client key activates the client key factory. So how can I say this? If it's a client, where's my README? Client versus service. In other words, you might not always want to start a service. Sometimes you want to start a client. So essentially what you're going to do is client means we have no local data store. Okay, so can I do that? Is that legal? Probably not legal. So client means we have no data store. We have the idea behind client service. Client means we have no data store. Let's see, client equals no data store. Service equals points to local data store or resource. So basically, client service means you might have a key client or you might have a key service. They abide by the same contract, but you don't want to have a data store and a client running at the same time. Essentially, what you're going to do is use that same component over. But what you're not going to do is use two components. You're not going to have one key service that's an actual service, and then one key client that's actually a service backed by an RSocket, right? So, to make things a little bit less confusing for myself, I'm going to narrow down the scope and say I want to be able to launch profiles. So arguments are profiles. Great. So currently it's profiles, clients versus service. Let's just go ahead and move that because I needed that for understanding. Currently it's profiles, so we're going to need to specify spring boot profiles that active. I think that's it. Spring boot profiles that active. And then in execution. All right, so we know we need to specify the profile here. So whatever we do for a build pack, we're going to have to tell it use the following profile. And I think I have a sample execution here. Z history, client key. Maybe my entire Z history, yeah, it was blown away. That's fine. Profiles. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, you can't see that. There you go. All right, so I guess an earlier invocation would look something like this. If you were to run this based off of the command line. And if you were to run it off the command line, what would you do? How would you run this off the command line? What does the command line look like? Apply arguments. Okay. What we know. Deployment objectives. Doesn't that sound boring? Let's create a title called deployment objectives. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that gets the blood boiling. There's a manager that loves the way that sounds. Okay, so I have deployment objectives. What I know is apply arguments based off a similar command line execution to the following, so essentially, I guess this guy here will activate the Cassandra key persistence index cluster and the controller for user persistence. I named them backwards because I'm dyslexic. Not really, just I was trying a new naming scheme. All right, don't knock me for that. Okay, alrighty. So great. So now we know we have like, good lord, why is that whole entire thing there? Like, it shouldn't be all that. It should just say messaging. Messaging. Hello. How about memory? Memory messaging. Gosh. Okay, so we have a profile called memory messaging. That memory messaging takes a topic memories messaging service in memory and makes it available. That should be messaging UUID, but I am trying to. I'm still grappling around a couple of things that are beyond the scope of this actual, like my video here. All right, so we have another profile. So these are all the arguments essentially. What you're looking at here is how would I wire up the application to run. So I can give it. There's so many profiles. How do I list profiles? That would be a good idea because when you look at it, when you want to learn how to feed arguments to a program, what do? You normally go to the to like a runner that like has a programmatic argument, listing like the entire code for the arguments. But when you're using profiles, you might end up finding yourself with app profile littered about your program, and that makes it a little bit harder to explore the program, right? After all, you can't immediately know what the arguments are. So what we want to do is we want to limit the amount of profiles. We want to create actual arguments. Later on, what we will do is limit arguments to like 1 or 2 profiles, maybe 3. I don't know, 1 or 2 profiles max. I mean, let's try to make a rule there because we don't want to have to hunt profiles down. But what we need to do is expose those arguments, those profile arguments, in another way, in a more readable way. So I'm kind of PRing my code here before I go too far with it because this is like a giant leap, Profiled arguments, get it? Profiled. I don't know how to do that. Defiled, profiled. I'll just put it in parentheses and somebody will complain. Probably me later on, wondering why did I type it that way. Right. So I want arguments based off of the profiles currently. I want to limit that later on so that I can literally give the arguments in some other way. Maybe it's possibilities are standard arguments, command line options, command line options, followed by there's either command line options, which are perfect for feeding arguments that are bootstrapping arguments and you don't like currently know where your directory services are and things like that. You need to tell the application, here's your zookeeper service, or something like that. If it doesn't know how to auto configure it itself. In this case, I'm assuming that there is no auto configuration. Application. Assume no auto configuration at application deployment time. That is, even console might not even be there. So I should actually be able to send the commands for where a service is going to be. So if I have a client, I should either let it use console, or if console is not there, I should either let it use like a config map from Kubernetes, or have some sort of fallback, like arguments should always be the fallback. So no matter what, there should be some argument for telling it how to get to a major resource. And without that, then the application should fail. So to required resources or fail, alrighty, supply, we should only really supply those type of arguments. Everything else should be maybe a compile or build time concern. So if I have if the thing that I'm building and deploying is actually a key server, then perhaps I should break it up so that each container is one server. How about that? So we can get rid of profiles entirely by just building. That sounds terrible for me because that just means I have like a lot of these things to write, and I want to eventually. You know what? I think I digressed once too many. What we'll do later is limit the arguments. No, I'm still talking about arguments, good. But what I realize is I haven't talked about one really important thing. And that's the monolith. Okay? So we're gonna have a talk about the monolith here. How many times have you deployed an application that has several artifacts that you have to deploy, right? A war file, a ear file, several jar files, or maybe no war or ears, maybe just a lot of jar files, or just a lot of containers. Each one of those are probably not the same binary, right? Or they might be the same binary, but they're a very specific binary, like you might be deploying DNS bind or something, which can run in a couple of different ways. Or you might be running an SSH server that you're configuring to run as a proxy, or maybe just the SSH D itself. But the question is, how do you configure that? And currently, we already know that you can run SSH, for instance, by typing SSHD, and it just launches immediately and it knows what to do. And I would like that for these guys here too. On the other hand, when you run SSH as a tunnel, you run the client, and the client knows how to do the tunneling for you. So what I would like to do is provide a similar way of abstracting the deployments of this particular microservice without writing like a lot of YAML, but with the objective of, at the end of a compilation or of a build phase, you have several containers that contain an execution of a microservice that you can then deploy. Which means, unlike the command line, I will have to specify, right, I would have to specify a main class per container, and okay, let's get into that. That just doesn't make me feel too happy saying, but I guess it's something that I'll do. Let's find out what that main class is, and let's get into it. Let's just get into the main class. Because we know that there is a main class. And currently it's this guy here. Currently it's nothing. So I specified it as deploy for learning, but deploy for learning is literally a learning tool. I wouldn't call that production. I would say that this is a stepping stone to the production. Let's read that code here. What are we doing in this guy? Codex generator, okay, we have a management context, so we have the actuator, we have a discovery context, so we can get to our console. And then we have our Cassandra cluster. So basically we're asking, hey, do we have a, God, this is a lot of code. And I know this is much easier using the Java config, man. Well, in any case, let's see, if we have a Cassandra cluster on our profile, this is going to then start a Cassandra connection. And then if it has a R, let's see, not even F, but this will also start R socket. Okay, so R socket context initializer is one of my own beans. Great, let's find out what it does really quickly. Strategy, server, requester, messaging. Okay, yeah, so it starts up all of that. This isn't ours, is it? Okay, this is from ours. This is from them. Great. Okay, so we have the idea that we can supply an R, we can get our socket out of this in a heartbeat, and then that's it. Great. So that's just an initializer. I like it. I guess that kind of works. Let's use this guy then. Let's see. Right. So deploy for learning is really, actually, let's rename it. It's not deploy for learning. It's, if I were to call it deploy for learning, it would be like deploy Cassandra R socket. How about Cassandra R socket services? Because that's what this really does. This really sets the whole thing up to launch into a Cassandra environment and to start R sockets. How about that? So we have a nice entry point there. The next entry point that I have here is a messaging. So essentially, I have a messaging service that is based off of Redis, and it will connect to Redis. So let's call that Redis messaging services. Not Redis messaging services. And I'm only trying to make sense right now. I get that. Let me sit back more. All this looking at stuff and formulating a build pack schema or entry point is really getting me. Okay, test client. This is literally a test client. You should never run this. For if you haven't ran any tests, then you sure shouldn't be writing tests in production. Yeah, deprecate it, man. Like, you went too fast. You decided to go to production before you wrote tests. And we know where that gets you. So this guy's got to go. So test client is probably going to go. I probably need the code to actually write tests out of. I'm not going to do that now. Move me to tests. You shouldn't run tests in production, you naughty person. This is how databases get dropped. Okay. So I don't know how to get to our RSocket server to register with console. So I'm setting a tag instead of using command line. Ooh, I might have needed to create a GitHub issue on this, because what I found was that, at least for basic startup purposes, if you have an RSocket service, it won't emit its RSocket server port to the service. So you have to like jury rig something. Let me find out where that is. That's really important, actually. No, it isn't, actually, because I got around it. I'm using a tag, so as long as you have a tag, you're fine. If you use console, you know what a tag is, and the tag allows you to say, here's a key value entry in my configuration, and I can then take that data, knowing where that key value is, and then glean some information about the environment, like the RSocket port for the thing that I want to run. Alrighty. So persistent starter Cassandra, or is that what I call this? So what was this? Oh, that was RSocket. Good lord. Oh. Okay. Cassandra persistence services. Aha. So we have persistence services. All right. So let's not worry about that stuff. Let's just put the ducks in a row there. Let's create a new one of these guys here, because I spent the last day actually creating a bunch of in-memory services that are backed by, I guess, memory. So we'll say is in-memory persistence services. So this is the first thing I'm going to deploy is in-memory persistence services. In-memory persistence services will basically look something like, I guess, the Cassandra persistence services, only without the Cassandra bits to it. Also, this will make it much easier for me to actually run integration tests with, and end-to-end tests, because I don't want to use whole resources in a development environment. I don't think I'm going to pay for a development environment just to do that. So I think in-memory might work better for me. So let's call this guy here in-memory persistent services. No Cassandra properties. Don't need it. Enable reactive no way. What are you talking about there? Get out of there. Persistence client factory. Oh my god. What is going on here? Why is there code? I shouldn't be looking at code this early. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh lord. Okay. Right. I forget. So, okay. So yeah, don't worry about that. You didn't see anything there. There's somebody up here going, somebody looking at me very scared, like, why am I looking at this instead of the entire build pack game? All right. I need a deployable. I need something that'll run, something that'll run without me having to do much to it, and I'm exploring here. So if you will mind me, I will take code, make it deployable, and then write something around it to push it into a container service the right way. And what I'll do first is I'll scaffold some code, and I'll get rid of all the stuff I know I don't need. So I know I need a Jackson module. I know the Jackson configuration is very important. I know I need a key client. I don't need a key client. I don't need a key service for Cassandra. I don't need memory messaging. I don't need any of that stuff. I just need persistence, dude. Just give me persistence. I need a key client or a key service. So. Okay, in my architecture, I should have known. You need a key. You need a key service. You need something that gives keys. My particular application has the idea behind a key service. That's really bad. I know it's really just a persistent service that's really specialized. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any extra like cases around it. I should be able to find one. I just need one or to know why one exists. So I just said, here, give me something that'll give me keys and remove keys. It told me if the key exists, and that's it. I don't need anything else. It can be anything. So literally, it could just be a hash map in memory with random values in it. I just need keys. But I also need a way to connect to that key service. So that's why I have the idea behind a key client, because this guy here, client factory key client, he'll go out and look for this persistence client factory also handles key services too. I get it. Yeah. So it'll just find a key, a key service. It'll find a key service. Oh, he doesn't actually use the persistence client factory, does he? Who uses persistence client factory? Oh, yeah, he does. Okay. Yeah, persistence client factory will give it to us. So who actually provides a persistence client factory? Oh, client factory. Okay, we just import this guy. Willy-nilly, just go ahead and import him. Just import this guy, and as long as you have these three things, console and RSockets, then you're going to be able to create clients to other persistence services or key services, okay? Okay, so in this case, we have a client and we have a memory. And what we want to do is rename this guy here to key service memory. And what we want to do is not give it any arguments. It doesn't need a Cassandra template since it doesn't need to connect to Cassandra anymore. Cassandra key service factory obviously is not needed here either. Wow. Key generator. Oh wow. Open key service. Wow. Okay. Great. Whatever. All right. So he wrote some code. Mario did to do that. But what we want to do now is just say, oh, I have a memory key service. Ah, there you are. Aha. And what's your constructor look like? Keygen. Oh god. We need to really get rid of that. Alrighty, whatever. So I need a UUID codec. Do I have a UUID codec in here anywhere? Probably not. Actually, let's do us a favor. Yeah, let's do us a favor here. We have this idea of a codec, and all a codec really is a function, and that function does like a bunch of stuff. So, if you bear with me, that I needed something that was abstractable, something that was easy to use, something that didn't blend with all the functions out there, so I can like actually ask where's a codec that does this, without having to get all the functions in the world. But what I want to do is go. Let's see. Here we are. We have all these codecs. We have empty number, empty UUID. Do we even have a UUID? Yes, we do. We have a UUID key codec. The button test. Okay. So, empty UUID codec, huh? Is that all we have? Test, deploy string UUID decoder. Oh, wow. Whoa. Deploy config, UUID string decode. Okay. Okay, I didn't create a key decoder. Oh, that makes sense. So JSON load any, empty string, empty UUID. We can use that. Don't tell anybody I did this. Is that an object? Please tell me that's an object. Yeah, no, it's not an object. Oh, okay. Alright, whatever. Should have just created an object. How about this? How about we do create an object? Because I'm tired of using classes that I will never use again, and I'm never going to use that class again, so I'm going to say object. UUID codec. Haha. And it's just one of those guys. Boom. There you go. You have to be open for it to be an object. Okay. We called it UUID codec. There you go. Now, that's better. That reads way better. That reads way easier, and I don't get so confused by reading it. I hope that's not code I wrote. No, it's not. Alrighty. So we have a client key, memory key. Those are two arguments now, and I would hate to say that I'm going to go ahead and use those as arguments for now. I know what you're thinking. How dare you? How dare you do that? How dare you, Mario? But it's the only thing I have right now. And I mean, it's the only thing I know how to do right now is like really profiles. I don't want to have to write too much code on sending arguments into my applications without thinking about it at least. I don't want to think so much. I'd rather not think if I'm really lazy in this way. But on the other hand, I'm just trying to like think less. Like I used to think a lot about the code. And now I try to think about nothing if possible. Like there's literally nothing floating around. There's a hamster in my head, and he's got that guarana balls energy drink, and he's sipping it, and that hamster is literally running out of steam all the time because the guarana drink just keeps making him a zombie. He's kind of a zombie. You ever get zombified in your code, where you're just wondering, am I just the lost visitor? Well, that's what we're doing right now. Alrighty. So, alright, let's get this code out here. We have context, we have all these initializers. All these things do here is make the context initialized, the Spring context. I guess my persistence client factory is a thing that I want to use here. Message persistence client. So we have a persistence client factory, but what I do also want is the ability to make a service factory as well. So I guess I did that here, right? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll copy this guy here, and man, we're gonna have to create another thing. We're gonna have to call this guy here in memory persistence. Is that how you spell persistence? Factory. And it looks just like the Cassandra one. Oh, and look, you even got yourself a nice little UUID key generator as well. I'm gonna open you up because I'm gonna use you. Let's first of all move this guy to its own. We need to move this guy to his own package. He doesn't belong in here. Thank you. And you, sir. Yeah, I see what you did there. Alright, so... Yeah. Yeah, this is just... Oh, that's horrible. Because it uses Cassandra's UUID library that's extremely accurate. And that's why I wanted to use it, because it has an extremely good UUID generation that's based off of server and node and does all this really cool stuff to keep your UUIDs nice and hidden from the rest of the world. Alright, so we have a factory that's not going to contain any of the arguments that we saw earlier, and it's just going to be in memory. So, in memory persistent services, persistence factory. Okay. And it's a T, because we don't know the type yet. And it has no arguments, because there's nothing to argumentify. Argumented? What? Key service. You do need a key service though. And key service is probably the one thing that's a giveaway of the T. So whatever the heck your T is in here, you're gonna have to give that to him. Everybody needs a key service. One of the quintessential things of this persistence is topic persistence in memory. Oh, come on. Message topic. I called it message topic, didn't I? Okay. Let's go back to core to see if I knew my class names right. I probably don't know my class names right. Messaging, service, implementations, memory, messaging, topic. So topic persistence in memory. Oh yeah, it is. It's called topic. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't see it earlier, but indexing is slow as crap. Again, don't notice that. Put that one in memory. So now we have T of E. Let's use key service. So T is string. Okay, yeah. So what we're gonna do is messages are actually messages, like literally text messages that you send to somebody, and they're strings. There should be a UUID blob, but that's way harder to wrangle. That's way harder. Membership persistence. Okay, and a key service. All right. So now we have a completely open class that we can then subclass, and we probably don't need to subclass this guy, do we? Let's get rid of these guys. Okay, is it an open class? Why is it an open class? Well, let's see how we use it. How the heck are we going to use it? So we have our memory persistent services. Oh yeah, and I probably did the overriding way of actually using this, which makes a whole lot of sense for me. Factory, persistence factory. Excuse me, let me go back to chat core, close it out because I don't need chat core anymore. I can go back to the in-memory persistent services, and this thing is going to again deploy a bunch of persistent services that are in memory. So we have a key service, and then I think the last thing I needed to do was do exactly what the Cassandra guy here did, which was, let's close that. And memory persistence factory is the thing I'm going to use. I don't need this guy right here. I'm probably going to need to change you in a few minutes. I'm going to need to not change you. Persistent services. So the first thing he did was I did. I'm talking about me in the third person, which is weird. Right. How can I do this? Can I just write a class? Yeah, I can just import this guy. I think. Can I import the client? I imported the client factory because I just needed it to be built, but the and memory persistence services, the thing here, persistence factory, how is it used? What is the best usage way for this so I don't make a mistake? Let's find your usages. You're used by persistence controller. Oh, the controller actually creates you. Oh gosh, that's pretty cool. Haha. So you get a controller, you get a controller, you get a controller. Everybody gets a controller. Oh. Oh. Oh wow, that's really interesting. Okay. Yeah, I did something really weird. What I did was I created controllers out of everything, and what I should have done was I should have made this a subclassable thing instead of binding it to one data storage. Forgive me for that. What I will do is I will copy this and call this profile of memory persistence, and get rid of all the arguments and just do the exact same thing I did before, only with only within memory things. So I'll have the same thing for index. Oh, I see. Ooh, that's a lot of arguments. That's a whole lot of arguments, you guys. And you see, when any project gets big enough, arguments become something that you kind of like at least the SRE guy is looking at you like, hey man, like I need those arguments. Like you need to give me every single argument. So I need to document every single argument and say like how they work and what they do to the program. So I don't need that factory anymore. Oh gosh. Oh, I was just looking at that. So I can get rid of the factories. So services. So it's this guy here. So I have a key. I definitely have a key service starting up and have a key client that may or may not like need to start up. But what I'm going to need to do is expose an actual service. What can we do here? What can we do here? The actual service is memory key. In fact, if you started with memory key, you would just have a service that just does key. But that doesn't connect to anything, right? Because this guy here is literally just a service. He does nothing. He's not exposed through our socket or through WebFlux yet. What we need to do is expose him through either our socket or WebFlux. Just because I have a service bean doesn't mean that anybody can connect to it, right? And so let's make that happen. Let's make that service bean connectable so that we can then take an RSocket server or client and then either expose an RSocket server or connect to an RSocket server. So we have to figure out one of those two things in the next couple of minutes. Excuse me for a sec. Okay. So the reason why we're looking at this is because we need to know exactly what the entry point of our application is going to be. We need a reasonably simple entry point to our application. And the way I set up the world is such as I need to be able to go through the motions, the mental motions of knowing what server I'm going to launch and how that server gets configured, and then how to build a deployable artifact, like a build container off of it. And then I need to be able to, exactly what my document says here, I need to be able to inject arguments into that execution. And right now I'm really going through the application building phase, of which I have the application, I'm building the application, I'm going to create arguments for the application, and then I'm going to go into the build phase and then specify those arguments. So once I finish the in-memory persistence services, I can then build a container based off of the arguments in which I understand about it. So I know that we have a client key or a memory key, and then I need some sort of a persistence to start up with it. So what we'll do here is we'll go back here, back to our Cassandra persistence controller config, which was in our chat service Cassandra application. So this is the guy that, of course, starts up everything using the Cassandra backend, indexes, persistence, key services, all of that stuff is start up against a single, and it's actually a monolith. This is a monolith. You can push in all of the profiles and it will start all of the services. I don't recommend that. I would never recommend that. I don't even know if I would never recommend it. I would only recommend it because it's a starting point and you want to get somewhere fast. And this is the way that I know how to get somewhere fast is make a monolith. Don't worry about deploying several different things that need to discover each other, unless that's easy, unless it's really, really easy. In this case, when I started, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was. And it's still like one or two steps more than just pushing a monolith out and having everything in one place, right? So, persistence controller config, we're going to create a persistence controller. And that persistence controller is going to look a whole lot like this guy here. So, let's see. Oh, why do I do that? Was that a whole class? Yeah, that was an entirely different class, man. All right, so, dang, was that an embedded class or was that an entirely different external class? Because, you know, it's Kotlin and all. Yeah, it was. It was a completely self-contained, its own class. Great. You have two things here. You have a controller for a service, for a key service, an actual exposure for it. That's amazing. Yeah, that's going to get confusing when you have to worry about which one's a client, which one's not a client. But we'll worry about that later. Can definitely worry about that later, like way later. So right now, I understand I'm using UUID for everything, for all of my keys. So if I just stick with that, it's something that I know exists. Persistence controller config, and let's see. How about that? How about in memory? In memory persistence controllers. How about do I say in memory? Oh, no, I don't. I just say memory. Memory persistence. Okay. Memory persistence should also be H2 as well. Great. I have about half an hour, then I'll get to writing something terrible, something so terrible that I might need to drink more coffee for. So what's up with you, dude? What's your deal? Value parameter key service. Yes. Oh, I see. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. So memory persistence factory. Much better. Oh, man, I was fighting somebody. I don't need that. But why is it not? Oh, it never sees it. It's not there. No type found. Not auto-wired. I keep getting the dreaded red line of your application context is not configured correctly, which is probably why I had indexer in there as well. Alrighty. Let's see, controller. Okay, so let's just get rid of CTRL and let's just say user. Let's see, memory persistence, comma user, comma message, comma topic, comma yada yada yada. That way we can just enumerate them without having so many long-winded things. I'd rather do it this way, for now. Okay, so persistent service controller. Is that all I'm doing? Ooh. Oh gosh. Okay, that's pretty cool. Right. Yeah. This is a convoluted configuration, if you want to ask me. The reason why I think it's convoluted is because I have a base class that supports the factory. Well, it's not really a factory. It's just a configuration module now that supports the 4 basic persistence services, or service. Yeah, 4 basic persistent services are in here, and then you override that class, and then that overriding class takes those each one of those beans, like the user persistence bean, and then turns it into a controller. So my persistence layer is the controller layer, essentially. So like I have something called a persistence controller, which takes a persistence store, and then that controllerfies my persistence store. Obviously, I probably don't need it to go this far. I can probably just strip out this part and say message mapping within the persistence store, but that leaves me that gets rid of some flexibility. In other words, I'd be stuck with having persistent stores having message mapping all over the place, and I can't handle that. So I'll just create one single persistence service controller that maps a persistent store to controller inbound properties, or controller inbound what do you call it, mapping keys. Excuse me. Okay, so for user message topic, okay, so we have our first argument hint. Let's go ahead and run this guy. Let's see if Maven clean install works here really quickly. You can possibly this will take longer than I probably expect, because I blew away my Denim2 directory. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna let that run, and we're gonna then figure out how to get our build pack to work again. Make building great. Is that what you want to do? You want to make building great? Make building great again. There we go. Make building great again. Okay, so I suspect that I can. It's like a to-do here. Build inject main class somewhere in here. So basically, I want the build pack to like not know its main class until later on. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I know that there's something called entry points, and I'm getting this again. Oh, I know why. Ooh, hi. Yeah, so essentially, that's... Oops, SDK list, MVMD. What am I using? Oh, I'm using 0.11. Okay, MVMD 0.10. So I have an error with MVMD. If I use 0.11, it doesn't work. And currently use is 0.11. Could have been swore SDK use 8.50. Okay. That's my bad. So I learned that if I don't use the right invocation, then I'll end up getting that type of error, the SLF4J error, the dreaded SLF4J error. You've probably seen that in your build, on your tests, when there are too many SLF4Js in your class path and it doesn't know which one to use, so it just goes ahead and it makes its best guess, and it warns you quite loudly, by the way, excuse me, quite loudly about how your SDK man, or how your SLFJ is just far too awesome for the one that it currently needs. Let's see, what do we have here? Test compile sources. Alrighty, let's go back to this guy here. Right, so build pack, right. So here are the things that I need to know. How do I apply this guy? Okay. So like I said, our deployment objective is actually how to specify which main class. So let's first do that. How to inject the arguments, and then how to apply that. So let's go into a website. Hi, can I go to that website? I just saw that error out, and I bet you I put the error there. I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, in-memory persistent services is final. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. God, I have so many imports. Oh, my code is so unformatted. 31 lines. Was that 31 lines? That was awful. Oh, how dare you? How dare you start me up that way? That's how I feel about it. I didn't think it had to be open. But then again, what? But then again, what? Oh. Oops, bye. That's open. Great. That's an open class, so it cannot be inherited from it. I didn't want it to be inherited from at all. Why are you giving me this error? Am I having a code attack right now where like code just doesn't make sense to my head? It's telling me that the type is final, it cannot be inherited from. This is line 30, this is this guy here, in memory persistent services. Nobody's inheriting you, man. You got this wrong, dude. Dude, you got this all wrong, man. You didn't hear me right. All right, let's find out your usages. Like, who the heck is using you? Nobody's using you. Let's try that again. Did I just have a mini code stroke? I don't know. Get that build running. Let's see how long that build takes. That build shouldn't take very long. If anything, this is a NVMe thing, but good lord, that was easy. Okay. So right, in-memory persistent services is final. Can it be inherited from? I actually know that. This guy here is final too. Is that the only bean that is like tragically not going to work? Is that what it, oh. Yow. Ooh, boy. Thread service Cassandra application. You're not supposed to burn. It's no wonder. Okay. Oh, you did a bad thing. Yeah, you weren't supposed to do that way. Okay, that's a little better. We have our in-memory persistence controllers, and then we have this guy here, and he is a, please tell me it's public. So yeah, it's not final. This guy here, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have anything. Why are you mean? Why are you so mean to me, computer? Why was I able to start the other one? Why am I airing out? Why am I seeing errors? Why are red lining here? Same thing. But I don't need to make it fine. I don't need to make it open. No, I don't need to make it open. Nobody here ever said anything about you having to be an open. Good lord, you have so many freaking controllers in there. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna complain here, but I'm gonna complain here because that doesn't make any sense. Is it because I'm, did I not name it right? Okay, no, I didn't name it right, I named it correctly. It's, who's inheriting you? Who hurt you, computer? Who hurt you? Oh, this guy. Oh, is this the one here? Oh, don't tell me that. It's open! Oh. I see. It was my bad after all. I thought something too bad, too terrible. This is the brain fart moment. This is what happens. We're coding today. We have 90 minutes. I mean, we had 90 minutes. Now we're whittled down to like less than half an hour. But you gotta understand here. We need to make sense of the thing we're deploying. And I am definitely not going to not make sense of the thing I'm deploying before I try to deploy it. So that's why I just wrote notes. We have several modules to deploy. We have to specify the main class. We have to inject the argument into the execution so that it knows. Specify profiles. Most likely we're going to do that now. That's our current objective. Apply that to like every single like generation of the service class permutation. Sorry. So we have multiple permutations of the same service, and of the same jar file. That permutation can change depending on the profile. Chat deploy. We're gonna be doing this for a while, even if 90 minutes is up, you guys. This will become a blog post, like the other two for config maps and secrets and stuff. But on the other hand, this guy here will build. It'll build now. It'll build because I built the other thing that depended on it. And that's the only reason why. So, a little moment of quietness for me to collect my thought, that one thought that's been lingering in my head for a very long time. If you're out there, I have a question for you. You want to listen to this because this is very important. So guide your life for everywhere that you go. And that is, did you get that thing that I sent you? It gets them every time. All right, so what happened here? Packaging, yeah, okay, I'll be able to find single main class. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not able to find it, huh? Okay, that's fine with me. Yay. Okay, so we have our companion object that has a JVM static that launches this guy here. What do these arguments look like? Let's see, memory. How about we just take like, let's make the easiest one, and honestly, user is this is a basic service, right? Okay. I'm going through the ultimate process here. The arguments will look like this. So my container would have to do this. So it would have to say, hey, activate key, memory, and user. And that's it. But alternatively, it can say, client key, whereas it will just find a client. It will go out and find a client. So you can just say this. That's all you have to do. So you can literally just say memory key, and that's it. Aha. Oh, but there's no way to expose a key client. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, God. Okay. So that makes 100 times more sense now, because keys are not persistence. Aha. Right. Righto. You are so bad. Why would you do this? Who would ever do this? So you have this guy here. Key service factory for Cassandra. We don't need him anymore because we're not going to absolutely create that guy anymore. We're going to just say key service controller, and we're going to use our in-memory key service there. Key service in memory. Hello. There you are. And we need that darn pesky codec. Where did that pesky codec go to? UUID codec. That just gives us empty UUIDs because nobody really cares about your UUID anymore. Alrighty. Oh, hey. Okay. So this will go above there. And that's why I want to re-abstract this so that key service is just a persistent service. So I don't have all this gobbledygook in the middle of my code. Okay. Let's see. So we have a service controller. So we're gonna say memory key. That basically gives us the in-memory key aspects, and then we can say service key. I should say like key service, and the key service should just find a memory key, because that just makes way more sense. So we can get rid of that. Oh, but that's controller. Oh, but we still need the, well, no, we don't really care. Yeah, we don't need the bean entirely. All right, so that's good. Yeah, otherwise we would have to move that argument here. Yeah, so let's do it this way. So let's say service key. So let's see, memory key. No client key, because we're not going to launch a client. So that's all we're going to do here. We're just going to say memory key, and that's it. So now this guy will be the only thing that gets deployed when our application launches. Great. So we have a first requirement for application arguments, but we don't know how to get to that main class, and we need to do that. So let's say first of all, first key. Probably want to break this up into multiple headings again. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just say 1, 2, 3 key service start key service in memory. Probably gonna have key service in memory then. Hi. Okay, so I think we're doing a little bit better here with arguments in our profiles, but we still need to like manage that, because that's going to get really messy in a hot minute. So I want to inject arguments here. Start key service in memory. Screen profile active equals memory key, and that should be it. So I'm going to leave it to that for now. So specify main class in POM.XML. I have no idea yet. Start key service. I can do that now. It doesn't build because unable to find a single main class for the following candidate. Chat service Cassandra application and memory persistence. Okay, that's fine, because there's 2 of them, and I didn't specify it in the POM.XML. I will need to specify it in the POM.XML. I can do that here, but that's going to so I can do that right here. Main class. Right. So, and that's where I get kind of worried about having multiple main classes in a single build project. I haven't done that yet. So I'm going to have to wing it here and just say in memory. And hopefully I'll eventually work my way up to getting this to deploy, to build multiple artifacts. That means I probably have to go into the Maven build, the Maven build plugin, and tell it like you have multiple candidates and you're going to create multiple jar files, and each one of those jar files is going to have its own main class target. On the other hand, I can just have a unified, which is what the original purpose was to have one single main class and have somebody know that you're a Cassandra or you're in memory, and just have the arguments flushed out that way. But for now, let's make this simple and compact. Let's just deal with in-memory, and let's get those arguments into the in-memory persistence service. So let's go back to what we were coming up with for our build pack execution. If we did it now, it would work because we only have one entry point and we don't have any arguments, but we still need to get arguments to that thing. So in the next 20 minutes, I plan on getting those arguments in. So let's do this one more time and make sure that that does what we want it to do. And I know that sounds confusing of what I just said. If it does sound confusing, don't worry about it. I'm probably going to talk about this again and again and again and again. And I want to, really. What are you talking about, redeclaration? Who's compiling? Who's making this code? How dare you? Chat deploy in memory, key service RSocket. Oh, redeclaration, key service RSocket. Oh, my bad. Okay, key service RSocket. Yes. RSocket memory service. Okay, who else? Who else is redeclarated? Yeah, okay, so yeah, we already know you have you guys. RSocket memory service. In-memory persistence controller. Okay, that should be better. My bad. I'm sorry, build. I made the build angry today. It's never a bad day when a build isn't angry. That is, if your build doesn't cough up once or twice, then you're doing it right. But obviously, you should just know that I'm jealous. Okay. So let's go ahead and try to run this application here by doing the standard Maven Spring build, Spring Boot run. Spring Boot run. Let's see if that works, because we need to know if this thing will actually like get in there and you know, run. Otherwise, we're just chalking up a storm, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm not trying to joke anymore. This is really just about building at this point. Okay, let's get that build pack out there. That'll just make me a little bit happier. Once I can get that running into a Docker container, then I can stop, because I know Paul's going to be looking at me really soon going, hey Mario, we got other people waiting. What happened here? There was a construction vocation error. Oh, a lookup, method handler. Ooh, right. Right. Oh my gosh. Can reserve at primary. Yeah, have all those primaries and stuff like that. And that's what happens when you don't look at your build file for about a month. I don't know. Okay, it's been a week. You over here. Yeah, proto. Oh yeah, we had some. Oh boy, we had some issues, didn't we? Spring application at primary service at proto. Wow. At proto. Proto. Where do I specify protocol? Hello, sir. Proto. Main proto resources. Oh man. Protocol. Oh God, come on! Don't tell me all that stuff. Okay, let's riff. Okay, so a while ago I was doing riff. Let's not do riff here. Bootstrap. Oh, that guy. I know who you are. Nope, I know who you are too. Test client. Yep, I know who you are. And finally, primary. I bet you I have a run configuration here, don't I? Oh, these are tests. My bad. Key service. Oh, there we go. Oh, here we are. Okay, we have all these arguments. Oh my God, we have more arguments, you guys? Really? We have more arguments? Oh, we have arguments. Okay. Well, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You gotta know your arguments up front. We have even more arguments, guys. Guys, we have a lot of arguments. Okay, so these are more arguments we're gonna have to supply. So basically for memory key, we have to say our at primary is a key service. So that's basically the application type, it's a key. Or it's a persistence, but this one's a key. The next thing is going to be RSocket. Where is our RSocket port going to connect to? If it's a service, I mean if it's a client, but if it's a server, what port is it? Give me a second to look at this. app proto server. Oops. Let's go back to server.port. So app server.port. Here we are. So management server. Okay, so that's if we don't want like if we want your non-standard actuator port. I created overrides. I probably shouldn't have done that. You can bug me later on about that. But basically, app server port is our management server. That's the actual Webflux server that's going to start up on a different Spring context that is actuator. And I bound that to its own device. I said, hey, put app server port on 5801. I could have named that better. I get that. I'll do a better job at naming things better. RSocket port is our standard. I suppose it's our standard Spring RSocket server port. I could just call it that instead of renaming it. But I think I was trying to avoid like long lines. And so I weaseled my way out. I weaseled my way into this. Okay, that's what happened. Now you know. Knowing's half the battle. Mario weaseled his way into a shorter command line, but more confusing proposal. Because the proposal is, let's build this. And the actual, thing was, you didn't build it, you just tried to look for all your properties and collect them so that you can actually make a buildable product. Damn it. That works? Yeah. Okay. So, excuse me. We're a little bit out over time, but I think Paul might be good. So give me a few more minutes, Paul. I know you're going to bug me in a second. Give me a few minutes. I'm pillaging the builds. Another build failure. And again. Can resolve placeholder for app primary in value app.app.primary. D app dot. Oh gosh, really? I really ought to change that. But I can't say give me the primary profile, because primary profile won't work. It has to be like an app primary. That is, damn it. Let me explain here. Why do I specify the tap application that I'm running? This is one of those heartbreaking PRs where you go like, why are you naming things that you don't really need to name, Mario? And the reason why is because console needs to know, not me, but it's the console server that needs to know. Oh really? Oh, did I not do that right? Oh, app proto. Oh, geez, really? Is app proto like? All right, let's just give it default. Proto. No, we can't do that. App proto is RSocket. I don't want to do that. I want this thing to say. Yeah. Right? That was wrong. Okay, I thought I did that right. Let's just give you a couple of all RSocket. I see. Okay. I could put it in Bootstrap. I might be better just putting it in Bootstrap. So I can just say app server port, and then create different bootstraps, and then that will be even more confusing. So let's not make it so confusing. Let's take the guess out of this since I'm running out of time. This management server port is 5801. What else do we have here? We have an RSocket port, and server port is going to be observer.port. Why do you have an observer? Oh, that's what that is. Observer.port. Damn it. And that's your WebFlux port. Basically, collisions. WebFlux and RSocket. I want them to live on the same port. That's a different concern. So we'll just say that, and then we'll just do that. Yeah, but that's about right. And primary. What was your error? Don't tell me it was at primary. Because I set at primary, and at primary that value. Okay. Maybe Spring Boot run, Spring profile is active, memory key. Did I get that argument right? Oh. Normally mine is a D, but I know with Spring Boot run it's a little bit different, and I think that's where my problem is. Where I provided a property to the command line. With actual command line arguments. So, if you don't mind, I'm now gonna live my. Oh yeah, there we are. Hi Stack Overflow, you're so fun. Well, at least it's changeless. I don't have to change anything, right? Yeah, you need to put your dashes. Minus, man. Come on, get to it. Stop looking at your keyboard. There's like a little critic in my head, and it's telling me all these bad things. And sometimes I let them code, too. Don't let your critic code. Okay. What was this? Red null is an empty. Yeah. Okay, we can get rid of that. We're not seeing those bad problems anymore. God, this better work. Or at least this better tell me why it didn't work and not give me the same error. Again. Buildpacks. Bring this build boot. At primary. Oh, you are still giving me at primary? Really? app.primary? It's right here. app.primary equals key. That's the one. D run arguments. What? Spring boot : run. D run dot arguments equals. Did I spell that right? Argument. Yes. Okay. Oh, I got that wrong again. Oh, I'm reading off. I'm just. Sorry. Yeah, when the build gets you down, you go to the Oompa Loompas and they make you happy usually. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they create more voices in your head, and you end up turning into a crazy man trying to figure out why that one thing that you sent to the compiler doesn't work. Alright, so cat, see history, grep, spring boot, run, because you know you have this somewhere, you've done that, so it's the same thing. Really? Yeah, I figured that it was just exactly that. Okay. You know, they say if you don't know how to run your own application from the command line, you have no business building that application to the production or to anywhere, because you should at least know how to run a program like LS. Like, who knows how to use LS completely? Just saying, like, not that everybody doesn't, but everybody probably does, I hope. Run profiles is going to be memory-key. Run arguments. And like, this is the way to do it, really. But like, this isn't the way I then had a really awesome premonition that I'm going to want to like spend 20 minutes debugging this. So my app server port's going to be 5080, and my app RSocket port is going to be 6400, I guess. I'll just do that. And server port, you can actually turn off the server port this way too. One more thing. App.primary equals key. Okay. Okay, so it's minus d spring boot.run.profiles equals memory key. And then give you a bunch of arguments, minus d run.arguments. Okay. So I read in one place that it can be either spring.boot.run.arguments or run.arguments. So let's check that out in our Stack Overflow post. That's on a separate screen that the audience who is so amazing can't see yet here. Let's get that around and say spring profiles active equals test. Okay, so you might have to. Oh, it's a spring boot. So it really is spring boot, spring-boot.run.profiles, spring.boot.run.arguments. Spring-boot.run.arguments. Why didn't I see that anywhere else? Okay, well. Interesting. Interesting that I didn't specify that before. I just specified run.arguments even though I'm using Spring Boot 2 .x, and the community basically said in Stack Overflow, I'm reading it, it says use spring-boot.run.arguments to specify additional command line arguments to your program, which I did, but I didn't quote it, and I put it in the first self-contained argument stanza, which was probably the wrong way to do it. So I'm going to try it again and see if this guy builds, and oh gosh, okay, well, we got a different error now. That's good. Okay, well, what do we get here? Unsatisfactory persistence client factory. RSocket requester builder wasn't in there. Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Object mapper. Oh, well, but found 2. That's okay. Okay. Well, that's fine. Okay, so here's what we'll do. it's a lot easier to deal with this now. So we have our in-memory persistence that we tried to start. In-memory persistence told us to promptly go read a book and go to the toilet or something because you're a human and you know how humans are. So this is our main class. Our main class has app Jackson module, ensuring that our Jackson module hasn't leaked anything because it says that there are multiple modules that I might have configured. In fact, I probably don't need that module because those modules will get registered, but I think those modules need to get seen first. Okay, so, we have two of them. Chat service Cassandra application. Really? I thought we got rid of you. So there's you, and, yeah, that'll explain everything. All right, so this guy is going to get auto-configured on purpose, and we don't want him to get auto-configured on purpose because he begins to muck up our entire detail. So this is a Spring Boot application, but we're going to say, hey, profile, and we're going to say for Cassandra. So we're going to have a Cassandra profile that activates this whole build path. And then we should not be able to like say that. We should just say like key service and that. We only want one build profile, overarching resource profile at once. I don't want to have to start with both Cassandra and Elasticsearch, for instance, because that will that tends to make things a little bit more harder to grep with. But as you can see, so I have this guy here. He's there. There's another one, and there's another one. Okay, so persistent services just needed its own profile for Cassandra, and then we can continue with the in-memory stuff. Since that's brand new, again, that's what we're doing is deploying a key service, and we are making that key service available. The build keeps failing, and that's because I'm a failure of a developer here. Look at me, developing software that keeps telling me no. So we have an app Jackson module, but there were two found, and the reason why was because in-memory persistent services and Cassandra chat service Cassandra application are both Spring Boot applications, in which case they want to, I suppose they want to like vie for victory or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're literally jockeying for attention. So I'm gonna get rid of that there, and I'm envisioning a completely different build cycle for this going around, in which I only have one main class and several of those type of arguments. Each argument will just tell us which one of the resources we're activating. That's what I'm envisioning. As I develop this further, it probably won't look like that completely. I might opt for multiple projects, but I don't think I should have to create multiple projects or sub-modules for each one of the executions, if possible. Or maybe there's a balance there. Maybe there's like a way for me to bootstrap like a deployable and the thing that actually encapsulates the deployable. Okay, so that again. So yeah, you're gonna give me that type of pain, huh? So chat service control application. Okay, let's just go ahead and man, nobody will ever see you now. Nobody will ever see you now. Okay, nobody should ever see that. And that's on a different profile, so it's a completely constrained profile. It should never have an auto-wire candidate. Exclude, let's see, Spring Boot application exclude name equals com chat demo deploy. Yep, exactly. Com demo chat deploy. So nothing in here should actually get seen anyway. So persistence client factory, he doesn't have any. He doesn't have anything special to add. So if he doesn't have anything special to add to the context, when it looks up all of the beans in the Spring context boot phase, it shouldn't see it at all. I would love to know why it's seeing it. No unique bean. Oh god, not that again. Okay, I'm getting a Jackson error again. I keep getting my Jackson errors. Alrighty. Hmm. Yes, I know that. I don't want to use primary. It shouldn't be that hard. It's not supposed to be this hard. It should never be this hard to be cheesy. Okay, so don't even profile that. That's your standard entry point. Jackson module, serialization module. Let's just go ahead and do this. So chat service application.appjackson modules is here. So that's this guy here, and he has. Let's go ahead and let's reintroduce the code that we had before. For I believe that wasn't the problem in the first place. I was the problem. Everybody's going to need this, right? Right. Everybody needs this. So, what can I do here? Jackson configuration. Why isn't Jackson configuration doing this? App Jackson module and serialization configuration. Well, why aren't you doing that? So, you just create an object mapper. Great. So that guy just creates that one thing. And then it creates one of those, and then it creates one of those. How about I move you? You know what you're thinking right now. You're probably thinking, oh no, he's gonna move us. So we're gonna create an open class called Jackson configuration. That Jackson configuration gives us an object mapper, but those object mappers are also going to need the things that come out of our own Jackson module. So we have a configuration class for Jackson modules that needs to get seen, and then we have this guy here, the Jackson configuration itself, which just overrides that. In this case, let's just say let's just import those two. To make it simple, let's just import app Jackson and serialization configuration. Okay. Yeah, so that's. Oh, we don't need you anymore. Let's get rid of you. Goodbye. There you go. Okay. And that's actually easier to read too, because now we don't have to worry about like, what in the heck did he import? We're eventually going to make this stuff passive, so you don't see it as configuration bits, but rather you just know it's going to be there. So if I did this correctly, yeah, we're importing the persistence client factory, app Jackson module serialization configuration. So that should supply everything that we need to make the application work without having a collision. But since we're defining them in their own configuration classes, and I forget that configuration classes don't get the profile treatment, for some reason they weren't getting the profile treatment, so I had to put them in their own top level class, and then don't give them the profile treatment, but rather import them whenever I need them. Because everybody needs a Jackson module, and those are really important since they allow me to take ordinary beans and turn them into XML or JSON, things like that. All right. So, oh yeah, really? Oh, come on, after how? Wow. Okay. Did I anger anybody today? Is somebody mad at me? Okay. Well, now you're telling me that 3 are there. Okay. So Jackson configuration required a single bean, but 3 were found. The one in chat services, the one in memory, and the one in app Jackson modules was found. Oh boy. Oh boy. Aren't you a ball of fun today? Aren't you? Aren't you a ball of fun? Okay, so I suppose that you're automatically auto-wired since you're not in the com demo chat to play. You are in com demo chat to play. Oh, okay. Well, let's try this. Okay. Okay. So Jet Service Cassandra is really wrecking my day today. Like, it's just, you know? So I'm gonna go ahead and I know it's just it's literally I know why. It's because I have too much collision going on in one place and I'm trying to whittle it down to just one non-colliding thing. This might not even build anymore because everybody's, oh no, that will build. Ooh. Nothing like, you know, it'll build, but it won't start. And that's kind of the problem. Yeah, same thing. What exactly who did I make mad today? Who's angry? Like, at what point did I anger somebody? Let's just run this guy right here and see what happens. Let's go ahead, say run me. And he shouldn't run completely, but at least. Why does this guy here run, but the other guys don't run? That's just making me so angry right now. Index Cassandra. I have all of these different service like types. So I guess what I can do here is send was it in memory? App. Come demo chat. Deploy app. Okay. That looks good. Active is going to be memory. There we go. I know that's not going to run. So let's go ahead and see where that led us. Okay. So we want in-memory persistent services to actually run. So I'm going to run it as a key service. And key service is basically going to do just that. It's just going to run this like we want it to run on the command line. Because remember, if we can't run this on the command line, we can't expect it to actually run. We can't expect it to run anywhere, let alone a Docker container. It's not going to just run itself. It's going to not run at all. So we have this thing called a memory key. Our profile is memory-key, and is that right? Yeah, memory-key is our profile. And let's save this off to our README file because we are really going through one of those development cycles where we find ourselves going, why is something so simple becoming something so not trivial? And this is why I do this. This is why I like doing this, because it allows me to execute the trivialities out of my way, like things that are actually trivial but that aren't. I call it yak shaving, and I'm shaving quite the yak right now. So give me a moment, and I'll have this yak shaved. Shorn, excuse me. Yeah, okay, so key service should work here in this case. So let's run him, because it couldn't resolve that app placeholder earlier, but now will, because I gave it the right profile properties. Oh, what are you doing there? Why did you get turned into that? No, that's not the way it's supposed to look. Okay, we'll just get rid of that thing right here. Okay. Yeah, you again, huh? Wow. Awesome. Alright. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and just do one thing that makes sense. Boot full build image. Let's see if that even works. Can I even build an image right now? Because all intents and purposes, if I can just Oh, tell it, hey, build me the image. I don't care if it like runs or not. Just build me the image. This will tell me if I'm running on the right build platform, if I somehow messed up my com file. Because it's 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I am being told that the time to think right now is not now. Oh, Docker daemon is running. Yes, it is running, right? No, it's not. Well, we'll get you to run in a second. Don't worry. No, I don't. No, skip it. Just, God, just start. Why do you want to start everything? Why do you want to upgrade everything in the whole world? Okay. Assuming that it started up the way I asked it to. Almost. It's starting. Am I connected to Azure? Yes, I am. Great. Alright, so in a second, man, this, basically build packing or containerization or deployment is way harder than it seems. And that's why I'm having this talk, is because deployment is hard. Deployment ain't easy. Like, talk to my friend Josh Long, he'll tell you. Deployment is hard. Like, you can't get deployment right, and if you do get it right, for a while it's a piecemeal thing, a bespoke nature. And not everybody wants to go for the bespoke nature of a deployment scheme. They want something that's more uniform and cohesive across their environment. And I'm trying to do that here. Finding best practices for creating build, your runtime, your execution phase should be pretty darn straightforward. And you should also know your application layer, like I'm trying to do. As you can see, I'm struggling to know my application layer. But for some reason it's telling me like my application layer hates me right now. So let's see, specify the main class in POM XML, we know what to do. How do we inject arguments into an execution? We do know what the arguments are going to be. So we do know we want these arguments here. But limit arguments to 1 or 2 profile, actually we don't care about that. I don't care about limiting because I know I'm always going to have arguments. But where do we put the arguments? Where? For execution, and how does this factor into multi artifact production? All right. So what we'll do is we'll eventually flesh out how do we get the arguments into the execution, and once we have that, then we'll be able to flesh out actually building the thing with the arguments baked into it, so that we can run it. And doing that would allow us to, say, press a single container that has all the arguments needed to run, give it a get SHA, and then point somebody to that get SHA, for instance. So it still can't find. Oh, is it because Docker's not loaded yet? That's right. We're waiting for Docker, and it's running. Okay, so Docker's running now. My computer restarted earlier, so as you can tell, my uptime is like a minute, or it's literally 2 hours. That's as long as I've been online, and that's because last night, late morning, my computer decided you're not using the computer right now. I'm gonna restart you. So I got to wait frantically at like noon for the computer to restart. Now hopefully if it just dumps out a dumb build pack, it'll be dumb, because it won't know how to start the build pack. It won't know how to start the container. And so how do I get that container to have arguments? And if possible, yeah, I just want the arguments. I want to give you arguments, dude. So right now we know execution doesn't work, but hey, we got a little bit of a developer issue here. This developer here, he's got a little fever, and that fever, it needs arguments. There's only one call for that, and that's cowbell. I mean, if you had a cowbell, please ring it. Alrighty. So our application's coming along. It's not perfect. It's barely where it was an hour ago. Only I know a lot more about it. I know I want to limit myself to just one piece, one part, one memory thing. And just use in-memory persistence. I want to expose a key service, and that's it. I know that I want to inject arguments into the build path for this guy here, for Paketo. And if possible, maybe that could be dynamic. Maybe somebody can set up a YAML file in a GitHub repository that tells you exactly which things you're going to execute from. I think I'll do that next time. So for this talk, for this version of code, this was me getting to the point of build packing. On the other hand, I built packed, but I didn't. I had a caveat in which my arguments. I don't know how to put my arguments in there yet, and I'm running out of time, so I will continue now outside of Twitch to pull my arguments into the pack, into the container, so that when I actually run this thing, it doesn't fail to run. But that's what I got for now. 2 minutes and 34 seconds worth of build time, and that was not using Maven D. Good. That's what I have now. And if you have any suggestions, go ahead and tweet me at Mario Gray, please, because I can use your help out there. Otherwise, I'm gonna probably ping a couple of colleagues, and they're gonna have to deal with me, and you all know how that feels, right? So, configurations doesn't have to be in there. So that's it for now. I'm gonna be told to boot the heck off and let somebody else on the application on this platform. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for stopping by. If you saw me code, and if you looked in horror as the fires were brewing when build kept going, just know that that's going to be gone in a minute. But I have to roll. I might just start rolling on my other channel. You know what? I'll just roll on my other channel if I can get that working. Otherwise, see you on GitHub. And just for your edification, if you're just planning on checking out after this stream, github.com/marioscodepath. That's my URL. They're probably not signed in on this window. Yeah, I'm not signed in for this window. Okay, so this is that particular project that we're working on, and chat deploy is the actual thing that we are working. So what we want to do is we want to push some of those git. We want to push some of that git commit build breakage pack arguments needed. Oh, yeah, that wasn't good. What are you? Get back out. I don't know how many commits are in here though, so if I back out to like now, I'm probably going to lose a bunch of commits, and I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. Okay. Alright, so this is an hour? Oh god. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, guys. What we're going to do is continue building out chat deploy so that it dumps out a bunch of containers. So come back to code next week or the week after. One of my colleagues will be there for the next couple of weeks, but check out this space. Check out this particular, if you're interested, check this guy here out for more information about what's going to happen and how it will evolve. And also send me messages to @MarioGray. And I might reply. I probably do. I usually reply. I usually don't tweet, but I typically reply if it's out there. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And have a good day. Have a good year.